Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to FTB Football Roundup. We're going to go through all the games today. We've got Carl there. Say hi, Carl. He's an Arsenal fan. And we've got Sam, who's a Spurs fan. And then myself, AL Fit, who's also a Spurs fan. So we've got two Tottenham fans here with an Arsenal fan. So it should be lively tonight. Okay. So we go through the games. And first of all, we will start with Arsenal and West Brom. That's the game we'll start with first. So was Carl, tell us about your team. We'll start with Arsenal. You're obviously happy with that result. I would have thought. I mean, you tell me what you think.
I just think it's a brilliant performance, even though it was a lower half of the table team. West Brom ain't really doing very well this season, but for us, that was an improvement. No, we ain't been too good this season. It was good to see the youth come in and play with a cam and play with a bit more creativity, and it was brilliant to see the old bit of vintage Arsenal, as the saying goes. So for me, I was happy all round. I thought anyone.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you. I felt that there was a lot of call for him to just play the youngsters, because if it was going to go wrong, then let it go wrong with the youngsters instead of him playing these older men that really haven't done it for him. So I think Arteta was like Arteta's last grasp. Like, let me play these youngsters. I know that's what the fans want, and it seems to have worked, to be honest, which is a good thing. What do you think, Sam?
It was West Brom. That's all I can say. It was West Brom. They got smashed 5-0 the game before.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm not going to go on Arsenal bashing because that's not what this show's about. But I would expect them to get a result against West Brom. I know they've had some bad results recently, but I can see that they've made some improvements, and that is bringing the youngsters in. That is giving some of them a chance. Saka's a fantastic player. I like the like of this Smith Rowe. There is some building blocks there. The problem I'm thinking that's going to probably occur going forward is now that these senior players have seen that these youngsters have come in and started doing bits, is how you're going to keep the dressing room happy. Are they going to just be like players like Willian? Oh yeah, fine. I'll let him come in and take my place. I don't know, but I expected that result. I didn't know whether or not they would win 4-0, but I expected them to win.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, and it is. I think that Carl's even touched on it. It's West Brom, ain't it? I mean, West Brom are going to get beat by most teams this season. They're not a good team, are they? But still, you have to put them away, don't you? And they did put them away. Yeah, so fair play to them. But yeah, they've got tougher tests to come. And just on West Brom, what do we think about Big Sam? I mean, that's 9 without reply now, isn't it? And Leeds and Arsenal not looking good. Well, what do we think?
I think they're done, personally. I don't even think you need to talk too much about them.
No.
Sheffield United are done, and I think West Brom are done.
I agree, and Big Sam maybe is the man for next season. Then maybe that's what they thought already.
Possibly.
Okay, we'll move on to Chelsea 1, Man City 3. Did either of you catch the game? Cole, did you catch the game?
Yeah, I watched glimpses. I watched the second half. I watched the highlights. I watched the goals. I mean, put it this way, I was a bit dubious about what was going to happen due to the coronavirus, and you know, Chelsea's got 100 million pound squad. We don't know what we're going to see. These superstars actually going to start playing football. They're just going to be bullied all over the pitch, and that's what happened. They got bullied. Kevin De Bruyne was masterclass again. Phil Foden pulled it out the bag. Raheem Sterling was causing defence problems. I mean, Callum Hudson-Odoi come on again towards the end of the game and made a difference. Why is he not starting over Ziyech? I don't know, but I was blown away by the Man City performance, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I agree. What about you, Sam?
So Frank's got himself in a bit of a place now. He's spent all this money, 200 million, whatever it is. He's got all these talented players, but what he had last season or whenever it was, he had some youngsters that he could trust in, and they're the ones that he's not been able to bring in the team, because I think he's kind of thought, you know what, Roman's seen me spend all this money, he's given me this money, I've got to somehow fit all these players in. The ones that have done bits for him, the likes of Hudson-Odoi, as you said, when he's come on, he looked like he was a real threat. Some of the others didn't look like they had anything in them. You know, I know Ziyech has been out injured, but Werner, why does he keep starting him? Why is he starting ahead of Giroud, for instance? You know, I don't understand some of the decisions he's making, but I think he's being forced into some of these decisions because of the amount of money he's been spent, and pressure's beginning to tell. And I don't think Frank's got too many games like that left before someone starts talking about is he the right man to go?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that they've got like a star-studded name squad, so they've got a few big names, and they look like, on paper, they look a good side. So I see a while back, say like the squad saying, "I look at Chelsea's squad, how amazing it is," and I thought to myself, let me actually break that squad down none of them squad. That squad is not a team that has won a load of Premier League titles and has proven in the Premier League. Most of them players have not played in the Premier League. They're not proven, and we all know whether it's the best league or not, it's the hardest league to come and adjust to, because there's how many players going all the way back to Veron that was a world class player, and he comes to England and he can't get a touch of the ball because it's hard.
I was giving an example for us, and we had Ndombele, who came in last season. Yeah, fantastic talent. It took him a whole season to get to a level where you're thinking, I can see why we've got him and spent that sort of money. Yeah. And Frank's got all these players who are, don't get me wrong, he's got some real world-class players in there, but none of them, as you said, have been playing in the Premier League week in, week out. It takes some adjustment. It's going to take him some adjustment to find where these players need to play to get the best out of them. I don't think you can learn that on a job at Chelsea. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's tough to learn on the job.
Very tough. Yeah, I agree. And so moving on to Man City, what do you think about Man City? So I feel that Pep was maybe under the most pressure he's ever been under in a way at that club, because he spent a lot of money and he's got a big squad and he's got some good players, and then his back's against the wall now with a few injuries and coronavirus has kicked in, and suddenly they looked amazing. They looked amazing today. So what do you think about that, Sam?
Let me just say, if you look at the table now, they've got 2 games in hand. I mean, Liverpool playing tomorrow and they can go 36 points. They've got 2 games in hand. They can quite easily hit 35 after they've played 17, and they look good and comfortable in the table. They've lost Aguero, we come on. They've lost Jesus, and they're playing Kevin De Bruyne up front, and they're still dominating a team like Chelsea. Fair enough, Chelsea aren't playing at the best, but to go in a game like that with loss of 5 players, no striker, and still dominate a team like Chelsea, you've got to say hats off to Guardiola.
Yeah,
you know that team's dominant and it's dangerous. Not any other team looking at that would be scared to play against it in a minute.
Without a doubt, and that's what I mean with. Is it sometimes when your back's against the wall, like in any form of work, you just think, you know what, we'll muck together here and we'll show them that we're not just going to fall without a fight, because they looked like they were distant. Like I didn't even look when Tottenham were top of the league. I didn't even look at Man City. I just thought, they're already down there. They've got a lot of coming back to them. I remember they drew with Liverpool, didn't they? Which I thought they should have won. And then that game now, I just thought they're way behind, and now they're up there. They really are up there. You can never rule that squad out, but I felt Pep had lost his way, but he hasn't clearly.
So what I think Pep's done, and the stats back this up in terms of the goals against, he's tried to be more defensive, not as open in terms of, conceding as many goals as he has done before. That has now looked like he's solved that problem. He's now also got is he's got back the old style of attacking. Even without Aguero in there today, they look like every single attack they were going to score. Now I know Chelsea's defense has improved recently, but it looked like they was kind of back to their old ways today. Thiago Silva looked like he was all of his age that he was. But they've built the foundations on a good defense now, and now they're getting all them players back who can attack. And Foden, quality player, Sterling, quality player. You can go through their whole front and midfielders, and you can see they're always going to have that ability to score goals. Once they get the defense sorted out, which they have done, it's going to be a problem for a lot of teams going forward.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't want this to be the Man City show, but Foden, he's just quality. I mean, I've known he's quality for a long time, but what can he do really? He's just quality. He's a quality player,
top quality player.
He is. So it looks good for England, don't it? Really, with someone like him. Now, when they was talking a few weeks ago, I don't know if you watched a few weeks ago. Ian that was on the show was talking about building an England team around Jack Grealish. Now, for me, I would build the team around Phil Foden more than I would build it around Jack Grealish, because Phil Foden has played in the Champions League, and Phil Foden has proved himself in them top games, whereas Jack Grealish hasn't, to me.
Yeah, so from that point of view, I agree on that point. Jack Grealish hasn't got as much top level experience as, say, Phil Foden. But I watched Jack Grealish, and I was saying in the show earlier, that guy's got some serious talent, and he's now beginning to back that talent up with creativity, assists. Needs a few more goals in him, but if he gets that sorted out, like I said, he should have come to Spurs about 3 years ago when he was like 22, and I think the £25 million probably put off a lot of teams. But looking back now, that's a snip.
It's a snip. I know it's a snip without a doubt. Moving on to Brighton versus Wolves. Who watched this game? Carl, we'll go with you first. Did you manage to catch the game?
No, I catch the highlights. I try and catch the highlights every game, but from what I see, it was quite an open draw game. I mean, Brighton done well to get the draw, I'd imagine. I mean, they're out a couple of players now and they look a bit more open. But Brighton have definitely come out of here and shown that they're not going to back down and get demolished by a team like Wolves, which is good to see. I mean, they need to come up the table a bit more. Wolves are doing a bit better now, but definitely that was a good game to watch. Which that's sad I missed it, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good game. Sam?
It was a good game. What I liked about from a Brighton perspective, they went 1-0 up and then they conceded 3 goals. They were 3-1 down. I think it was 3-1 at half time or something like that, very close to that. But they didn't give up. Being in their position where they are, you'd have thought that, a few heads might drop. They had a few players out as well, but they didn't. They kind of set their stall out, right, we've got to get something out of this game. And they did that. They kept on attacking. They kept on passing the ball. They kept to their beliefs, their strategy of how they played. They didn't just start lumping it forward like a lot of teams would do in that situation. And they got their rewards from it. So, again, if you look at Brighton as a whole, they've got a good manager. Is he a world-class manager? No, but he knows what he's doing. He can get them players playing in a certain way, and they've got some talent in there. They need probably a bit more help, so maybe they might go into the January transfer window and maybe pick up a couple of players if they need to. But yeah, I liked the way that they were able to come back and teams down in that sort of area. If you go 3-1 down at home, it's a long way back, and they did. So they
dug in, and like with Brighton's my wife's from that area, so I know a bit about Brighton and stuff like that, and obviously her family are from there. And I just look at Brighton and I think how big they could be. So outside of the London teams, I mean, if you're a player and you're on the fringes of one of the big London clubs, what better club to play for than Brighton? They've got a beautiful stadium. There's a beautiful area. They've got the beach there and all that. I mean, they could attract some serious players like that. They could class themselves as virtually a London club if they could just get it right. And they need to just stabilise in this Premier League 4 or 5 years. And I honestly think that before they went up, I said once they get up, with that fan base, because everybody in that area supports Brighton, that fan base, loyal fans, and with it being so close to London and being such a beautiful area, I just think that they could definitely attract some of the top players. Like even if they got loans from the Tottenhams and the Arsenals and teams like that, they definitely could attract the players. So I think that things look up for them and they look steady. I feel that they'd stay up definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, when they were in the Championship, they look dangerous when they were in the Championship. They looked absolutely dangerous, and I was hoping they could prem them, and they haven't disappointed really.
No, definitely not. They've done really well. And moving on to Wolves, Wolves are obviously a bit of a surprise package last year. They've got a good manager. They've got some players that are probably playing a lower club than they could. I think that a lot of their players could play at bigger clubs and in the Champions League and stuff like that. They're not, but they're not really firing this season. Do you think that they've been? I'll go with you first, Sam. Do you think they've been found out a bit?
I think if every team who stays in the division and got a certain way of playing, Wolves had a certain way of playing for a couple of years now, and yeah, maybe that has been found out. But you've got to also take into consideration they've lost Raul Jimenez, their main goal threat. Any team that loses your main goal threat, it's like us losing Harry Kane for any period of time. It's going to cause you a problem, no matter how good you are defensively. If you can't score goals at the other end, you ain't winning games. So they're having to find a way of winning games without their best striker on board. I like the look of some of their players. I like that Neto. I think he could play at definitely a higher level than that. I like the look of that Podence. He can play at a high level. They've got a young player in there. Is it Silva, who's 18? He looks like he's got something about him with talent. He's got to have a bit of time to be able to show that talent. But I still think, this is what Wolves do. They get players in and it's almost like a Portuguese sort of thing. They get some really good players in and try and get that balance of being in. Traore, if Traore had an end product, bloody hell, what sort of player would he be? If he had an end, he looks like a wrestler playing football. He's mad. They've got bits and pieces there. It's just whether or not they've got enough quality now, given that the fact that Raul Jimenez is out and he's their main goal scorer. Have they got the goals in them? I know they scored 3 goals at the weekend, but obviously long term you are going to miss a player like Jimenez.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Carl? What's your view on Wolves?
I 100% agree with what was just said. I mean, they signed Nelson Semedo in the window, and they've got some big talent coming in there. It is a Portuguese vibe, but that team on a good day can batter anyone. I mean, they are, ever since Diego Jota's gone, you can tell that they're lacking up front. They just need a couple of strikers. Adam Traore is absolute brilliant winger, but he's just got no final product, like you say. I mean, you can't get this off. You didn't get a goal Was it the whole of last year? I think the whole of last year. Oh, I mean, if you can turn a player like that and get him scoring, you'll walk in the league. So
yeah, I think that's the hardest thing to get in a player, isn't it? I mean, how many have we seen? I mean, like that, Aaron Lennon, Shaw Wright Phillips, players like that. They're never going to be that player. They're never going to be the goal scorer that makes them world class. Because, as you say, if he was a goal scorer, he would be a Barcelona. I mean, how would you stop him? You can't stop him.
The thing with him though is, I said, even though he doesn't have that end product, just watch what opposing teams do. They have to put 2 players on him. Yeah. You can't just have 1-on-1. 1v1s, he's skidding for fun. And when you put 2 players on him, he's still looking like he's going to get past you because he can probably knock one of them out of the way and then beat the other one.
Yeah,
so
no, I agree.
He's got that physicality. He's got that pace. But yeah, if he could stop adding assists and goals to that, Wolves would be no problem.
I agree. I think someone could get hold of him. Someone like Pep. He's done it with Raheem Sterling, because I felt Raheem Sterling was going down that road where I never really felt Raheem Sterling was that dangerous. I used to think, he beats players and he looks good on the ball. And he's strong. He's really strong for his size. But I used to think, he doesn't really bother me. And then he bags 20 goals a season now. So he could get it out of him. It's just, is this manager going to get out of him, or does he need to move on? Because I feel that a big club would take a risk on him. I honestly do. Yeah, without a doubt. So, I wouldn't mind him at Tottenham, to be honest, but I doubt he's a Mourinho kind of player, to be honest.
Not a Mourinho player.
No, he's a Mourinho player. Coming there. All right, then we'll move on to United versus Villa. Bit of a controversy here. Obviously, United won by scoring a penalty, which is what happens every week. Who see the game? Anyone see the game?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Sam. First of all, let's just start with the penalty. Was it a penalty or wasn't it a penalty?
This is the problem. It's almost like I know that Man United have had penalties, they get penalties, and it's almost a historical thing with Man U. It seems like referees, regardless of whether there's fans there or not, they just seem to just have to give Man United a penalty. If you see what happened, he didn't even touch him. Pogba knows what he's doing. He put his leg, clipped himself, and fell down. To the referee looking at it, it looks like there's been a touch that's knocked his back leg away. But if you look, the leg that's tripped him over is on the other side of where the player is. So there's no way that he could have caught that leg. Exactly. And for the bloody VAR not to spot that and not to overturn that,
it's unbelievable.
It's unreal. But it's not the first time it's happened. It won't be the last. Man United have got something about VAR. Whether it's Sir Alex Ferguson just outside telling people what to do, I don't know. But it's mad. It's crazy. It's
crazy. What about you, Carl? Did you see any highlights or anything?
Yeah, I've seen the highlights. I can just tell Man United are reaping the benefits of VAR at the minute. I mean, when you've got someone watching that, if they see any sort of contact, whether it looks like it was contact or not, and it's in the box, they've got no shadow of a doubt they're going to give a penalty. I mean, on the off chance, 9 out of 10 times you're going to get one, but sometimes we see it that a clear penalty is not given. VAR's not working. 100% it's not working. You shouldn't be having as many penalties Man United have had this season. They wouldn't be anywhere near in place. They wouldn't be anywhere in place without these penalties.
I agree. And that on that isolated incident, for me, I don't really know, because the defender, I think you've got to, I always think that, are these players actually that stupid? Because the defender, he's chasing him, he's alongside him. The legs have tangled slightly. I think that I agree with you, Sam. Pogba's played for it, but why wouldn't he play for it? You're a striker. I was a striker. You get anywhere near me in the area, and there's bodies in front of him. It's not like he had a free shot at goal. There's bodies in front of him. I'm going down because I feel that you're stupid. What are you doing? Why are you grabbing hold of me? He could have passed him on to the next person. I agree that he's got to chase him, but I don't know. I mean, you could see why it's a penalty. You could definitely see why it's a penalty.
Yeah, this is my point. This is why VAR has been brought in. So we can get more of these decisions right. If a referee saw that in real time, it looks a penalty. I'm not even going to deny that. And I thought, yes. When VAR showed it back, and they showed it back on Sky a couple of times, or wherever it was, BT, wherever it was, I said, hold on a minute. He's not clipped him yet. His back legs tripped himself. Yeah. To me, that's a clear and obvious error.
In a big part of the game as well.
Clear and obvious error. It wasn't like he touched him and then that happened. You could see from what I saw on those angles. So for the referee then to still stand by that decision and give the penalty, and like I said, it's not the first time Man United have got away with those sort of ones. Something's not quite right. Something's not working, because I'm not being sour here, but we've had decisions go against us from VAR decisions that have been awful.
Yeah.
So
Well, Lucas Moura's handball.
Oh
Remember
my
that?
God.
That was
This
the worst decision, VAR decision ever, when he fell over and the ball hit his hand. Oh,
and then
wow.
the Andy Carroll one with Eric Dyer early in the season,
Yeah.
you know, at Newcastle. You know, these are the sort of things that will add up eventually. It's going to take its toll on the game because people are not enough confidence in it. And if the top teams like Man United keep on getting these decisions, I'm in agreement with you. I think it's something's up.
Yeah, so before we move on to Villa, I've got an interesting thing to ask. So I don't know your opinion on this, but I go to Tottenham games every week when I could, and the delay of VAR is the thing that hits me most. So you're sitting in the stand, and they're never going to put screens up because some clubs haven't got screens. Like Anfield haven't got screens, have they? And Old Trafford haven't. So if them two clubs ain't got screens, then there ain't going to be no screens. They ain't going to be shown on the screen. So for me, if they're going to keep it like it is, then it's got to have a time scale on it. So you look at it and you think, I mean, we know we're not trained professionals and we don't know every rule in the game. Obviously, we're just fans, but there's got to be a time scale on it. So you say it goes away and you've got 2 minutes to make this decision either way, or the decision stays as it is. Because at the moment, I waited 8 minutes once, Tottenham against Barnsley in the Cup, 8 minutes in the snow at Wembley, waiting for a decision for it to be a penalty or not. Son then took the penalty and then it got retaken because the goalie come off his line and they made the decision for another 5 minutes. I don't know if you remember that game, but it was just long. So what do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think that there should, because obviously it's here to stay, but do you think there should be some form of time scale, because it doesn't take that long to see once you've watched it 5 times? It's not going to change, is it? So what are your thoughts on that? First we go with you, Carl.
I think VAR needs looking at properly. If you look at the rugby leagues and the way that rugby do it, I mean, it's like you said, there's no screens in stadiums, but most stadiums now in rugby have all got all the screens up. You can hear what the referees are saying. The referee should automatically go and look at the TV. That should be the first protocol. Shouldn't be in the ear listening to people's advice. He's the man on the pitch. He should go and see the screen and see it first, so he can get that protocol going first. Then maybe the time will start getting a bit quicker. I agree with what you're saying. It shouldn't be an 8 minute gap. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
So again, we're going by what the letter of the law, and it's the way that VAR is interpreted. It's a clear and obvious error. So he's made a decision. VAR's told him, have a look at this, ref. I think it could be dubious. He then should go over to the screen, have a look. Within 2-3 camera angles that should take no longer than 30 seconds, I either agree with my decision or I've made an error. That's it.
I mean, how hard is it?
How hard is that? Do you know what I'm saying? For 8 minutes, 5 minutes, you must have looked at it about 20, 30, 40 times. So if you can't make a decision after looking at it that many times, you can't give the decision.
Exactly. And there's a few. So you'll know, Sam, the couple that I'll alert you to is Dele Alli once got nudged and back and put his hand up. Do you ever remember that? And the ball hit his hand. It wasn't a penalty, but I thought it was a penalty because Dele Alli had put his hand up, but because of the nudge, it wasn't. That was quite a hard one to see. So constantly looking back at that, I could probably slightly understand that might take you a few minutes. The Llorente one in the semi-final, the quarterfinal against City, I still don't know to this day whether that his hand or didn't his hand.
That game against City, I was going to bring that. VAR played a big part of that game.
Massive, yeah, huge. Yeah, it played a big part to most of our run to the final, to be honest. And that Llorente one is the one. If that Llorente one, if that weren't the goal, we was never going to score in that game. Like it never looked like we was going to score. And to me, looking at that first, it was handball. Looking at it the second, it was handball. Then I thought, maybe it's not handball. Maybe it hit his leg. I don't even know to this day. If you show me it again, I won't know if it was handball or not. So ones like that, but they're rare, ain't they?
They are.
Yeah.
So VAR for offside, it's either offside or it's not. And as much as it pains people to see someone offside by a millimeter, it's offside. When you've got subjective decisions like handball, where someone could get nudged and their arms come out and it's flailing, you can then say, oh, is it, should I or not? But the point is, if you've made a decision and then you're looking at it and you can't decide whether it's a right or wrrong, you go with your original decision. And that's simple then. Yeah. Because then the referee's given a penalty. Someone's told him in his ear, it's not quite, you have a look at it. Yeah. He then spends another 5 minutes in an iron about his original decision. Yeah. Go with the original decision. That's it.
Yeah. And then that would bring football a bit more normality back to the game that we love, because that's what it was. We used to have arguments in the pub about, oh, that was offside, that weren't offside, that was, and we want a bit of that. I think that some of us want that, and
Still
it
need
takes,
it.
yeah, you do need it. That's why I would bring in a time scale, and I'd say, look, he's still going to make mistakes. It won't be 100% because nothing's ever 100%, because the same ref that made the decision is going to look at a screen to make the same decision. So it's never going. It's going to be his interpretation still. But yeah, we could go on about that all day. But let's move on to Villa. So I talk about Villa first. I'm really impressed by them. I'm really impressed by that team. What do you think, Sam?
So I watched the game. Villa were as much in the game as Man United were. They created loads of chances themselves. As I said, every time Grealish picked up that ball, he was beating players for fun. He was creating. He's their main threat. But they have got other areas. They've got, what's his name? Is it McGinn? Got Watkins up top as well. He can put the ball. They've got a good setup. You know what I mean? They look like a team that knows what they're doing now. They've got some talent, and they've got a world-class talent, in my opinion, in Jack Grealish. So you put that combination together, and a bit of confidence in the way they're playing. You know, they're picking up results. Obviously, the 7-2 against Liverpool is probably giving them a lot to think, yeah, we can do this against all these sort of teams. So they're going into these games, even at Old Trafford, with no fear. So I think, because we're playing them in the league next, you know, I think that's Wednesday, 17th of January. That's going to be a tough game. Villa are historically a very big team, a very big club, should I say. So if they can, you know, add to that sort of talent and also maintain the sort of league position they are now, and they can keep on that sort of trajectory, then yeah, they're here to stay.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Carl? You impressed by them?
I'm gobsmacked to see where they ended up last season. Gobsmacked. I'm now flying high. That Watkins is a brilliant player. Jack Grealish, undoubtedly amazing talent. I think Ross Barkley works really well in that team. I
forgot about him. Bloody hell.
Yeah. He's injured at the moment, I think, but yeah, he's a good player. He's quality, and he's only on loan, but yeah.
When he plays alongside Jack Grealish, it just makes me happy to be an England fan.
Yeah, I know, it's dangerous. And then Foden as well. I mean, obviously, Foden's come into that England squad with them. It's refreshing, isn't it?
It's a good look for England. They've got a
lot of young talent, haven't we? A lot of young talent.
Yeah, without a doubt.
We're arguing who deserves to get into the team now, instead of saying he don't deserve a chance anyway. Whereas that's what you is. It's good to see that now.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And when you look at the players we've got, it's just. And what I like is that they're not boring old English players like we normally have. You know, like the boring side to side, and we'll get stuck in, lads. None of that. These guys can play football.
It's talented players. And I keep saying you've got to look at talent now. What England in the past have kind of looked at is like they've gone for dependable, functional, like players who they can depend on. The Roy Hodgson, I will depend on that type of player. I can't trust that talented player because he might do something. It's not part of my rigid formation. You've got to forget all that. You know, in the final third, it's about creativity. It's about expressing yourself. It's about, you know, doing something that they're not expecting you to do. If players know what you're going to do, you can defend them. You know what to do against them. If you don't know what a player is going to do in the final third, you're going to have a problem. And that's what players like Foden's, Grealish, you've mentioned them all. This is what they bring to England. They bring that sort of like creativity, that element of unknown. And we need that.
And Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford. I mean, with Harry Kane, obviously. I mean, is there many countries that have got, if we got them playing the right way? And I think we probably got the right manager as well at the moment. So I think that with England, I know we're drifting off a bit, but with England, you just hope that they don't go there and flop, because that's what you expect. Because we are England fans, and you just expect them to flop because that's what they do. But let's hope they could go there and be proud. Can be proud of them.
They can build on a semi-final of the World Cup. So if you can build on that, you know, you can get players to think to themselves, look, we've got to that level. We probably should have won that semi-final, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
You've got that to be able to give to them as like, this is what we can achieve.
Yeah.
There's one more step. There's a next step to get to the final. There's another step to win it.
Yeah.
It's about keeping that momentum going, but not going back and thinking, in 1 or 2 games, it's not quite worth. I've seen him. He's giving the ball away. You've got to keep with him. You've got to stick with him and play him.
Mason Mount, forgot about him as well.
Slow.
Yeah. So but anyway, let's move on to the big boys. There we go. Right.
Here we go. Here we
Move on to the
go.
big club, the biggest club in North London. Let's move on to
Here
that.
we go.
Okay, go on then, Sam. Tell us what you thought about that game, and then as the season. We've never spoke about the season in general. So, what do you think about Tottenham under Mourinho this season, and yesterday's result?
Okay, so my stance on Mourinho, he's been brought in to win. He's been brought in to win us a trophy. Now, I said at the beginning of the season, I've talked to many people about it. If Jose comes in, wins us, let's say, the League Cup and gets us into Europe, top 4, 5, 6. I know if you win the League Cup, you get automatic. But if he was to maintain a top 6 league position, that's acceptable to me. If he was to win FA Cup and the same thing, blah, blah, blah. I think because of that, there is going to be some casualties. It's the casualties of war with Jose Mourinho. He's going to alienate some players because not everybody buys into his ways of doing stuff. He has a way of getting to players, and that's the psychology side of things. So we have to accept that. We are going to see also a style of play that we might not really want to see as Spurs fans. We've got to forget that, because that style of play hasn't won us anything in however many years. We have to get a trophy in the cabinet and then deal with the aftermath afterwards. When I say that, I mean, right, Jose's probably going to have us playing in a certain way that we don't like. But if you've got a trophy at the end of it and you don't dismantle that squad and bring in 35-year-olds and 33-year-olds, which he hasn't been allowed to do, the next manager can then say, okay, I can implement my style, because that's what the players have been able to do. They're flexible. They've gone from a Poch style of play to a Jose style of play in a year? So,
yeah.
And that's given with the COVID sort of side of things. So they are adaptable. And because of that adaptability, I just think it's got to be a trophy now in the next year, within this season, I think, and build on that. If it starts to go a little bit pear-shaped, at least we've got building blocks in there to get rid of Jose if that was to be the case, but not have to dismantle the whole squad. Yeah,
I agree. And would you agree that potentially now an FA Cup or a League Cup is more important than top 4?
In my opinion, yes. A trophy is more important. Top 4, you don't win nothing. You get into Champions League, that's revenue. I'm going to look back in 10 years' time and say, oh, yeah, we got to a Champions League final, we didn't win it.
No,
I'd rather look back in the next 5 years and say, yeah, we won an FA Cup, we won a League Cup. Top 4, I don't care. And I'm being honest.
I agree.
That's me being very brutal. A lot of Tottenham fans, I hear them saying, oh, no, we want to see the style of play. We've seen this. I've been a Tottenham fan for 40 years, and it's just been constantly seeing great football, but not really having a lot. Those 90s days have gone. Those 80s
nearly,
days,
man.
You know, 2008. We're going back 2008. You know, we could be on the back.
We always managed to flop. So. And I love Poch, and I love the guy. Obviously, what Poch done for us can't be underestimated, because Mourinho wouldn't be able to do what he's, because Poch built most of this squad. Obviously, Mourinho's added some vital parts to it, but Poch built the just everything. Just took us from coming 10th every season to being in the guaranteed Champions League every season virtually, and then you think to yourself, okay, now let's move it on. And we used to always falter just near the end, like we didn't turn up for a Champions League final. Mourinho's team would have turned up for that Champions League final against Liverpool, and Poch's team didn't. And that's the problem. I believe that if we charged for the Champions League final, we probably would have won it. Liverpool didn't even turn up.
I know.
They literally did not even turn up.
Not to get into a big history lesson about Spurs, and sorry for doing this.
We'll move on in a minute.
But we've been having this since probably like 2006 when Martin Jol was there, and we started to build in this, this consistent improvement in Spurs, in not winning trophies, but improvement in the league. So over the last 12 years, we've been improving. So Harry Redknapp come in, took us when we was really down low, and he's built on that, and he's got us playing good football. As I said, all the semi-finals in Champions League and all the rest of that, we've seen all that. Then Poch came in, and he's run with that, and he's still kept the style of football playing, but got us even more consistent in terms of our league. But there's that final hurdle. How many semi-finals have we lost in recent memory? I went to Wembley. I went to Wembley a number of times to see us play Chelsea, seen us play
Portsmouth. We lost to Portsmouth.
And And
When we lost the Porto,
we don't get over the line. So by not getting over the line, there's a mentality. There's a mentality. It's not about the ability, because you can get there. It's the mentality. As you rightly said, Jose brings that mentality and that winning attitude to say, right, this is how we do it. Poch couldn't do that because he wasn't in that position to say, this is how we win a final.
he doesn't know how to win it.
Because he don't know how to win it. Jose says, this is how I won these Champions League. This is how I won the leagues. This is how we have to do it. And if the players buy into that, with the talent that we've got, there's no reason why we shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the last thing I want to say about it, but I think it's brutal. I think that you've just said it the nice way, but I think he probably says, I am a winner, you lot ain't. Listen to me and we will win something. If you don't listen to me, we won't. If you don't listen to me, you won't be in the team. Simple. Dele's like a child. I can see why Dele's not in the team. But we can't carry on. And Carl, what are your thoughts on Tottenham in general? I know you're an Arsenal fan and it might hurt, but let's have it right. Arsenal have been more successful than Tottenham, even in these years where we've been better than you. You still won the FA Cups, and we don't envy it, but we kind of wish we would have won an FA Cup instead of getting in the Champions League. So, what are your thoughts on Tottenham?
Look, I'm not going to sit here and be a typical Arsenal Tottenham banter.
Yeah,
hats off. You're playing well. You're playing a lot better than what you have done in a lot of seasons. You've beat us in North London derby. That's our own little banter we've got between each other. You, as a team, you need to win a trophy. You
100%.
need to win a trophy. For us, we ain't getting top 4. If we can win the FA Cup like we did last season and come 8th, that's showing that we still got that mentality. We've got winners in the squad now. Mikel Arteta's a brand new manager. He's won FA Cup and he's got the Community Shield, albeit it may not be a big trophy, but he's won now. He's got that. You've got Jose Mourinho. You've got a manager that can win. I don't want to see him, personally I would, because I'm an Arsenal fan, but I don't want to see him do United and celebrate winning second for you lot, because you lot need to win a trophy. If you can go win the FA Cup or the League Cup or whatever, or get into the Europa League and try and smash that out, then you're probably on for a winning mentality. But how long are your players going to stay at your club when they've got the opportunity? Like Son, they can go anywhere. Harry Kane can go anywhere. How long are they going to stay if they don't win? And that's the problem we're going to have. We're lucky we won the FA Cup last season, so I doubt Aubameyang would even be it. Lacazette, players like that. We're keeping these players.
It's a big thing. 100%. It's a big thing. Yeah.
It is a big thing. Brentford in the Cup.
Brentford on Tuesday, isn't it?
But it's going to be hard. That's not an easy game. Brentford are not a joke team. They're a good side.
You see,
that's his challenge, I reckon. If he can beat Brentford and push them aside, I reckon you're in for a chance.
Yeah. I'm not looking past Brentford, but if you had the choice of Brentford, Man United, or Man City, you'd take Brentford all day long.
All day long.
This is what I've got to say to the players. This is what we've got now, a chance of getting to Wembley to play one of them Man United boys. Would you rather play them in the semi-final or a final? I'd rather play them in the final.
Of course, you could beat them. Yeah,
you can beat them in a final, one-off game. I know it's going to be a one-off game on Tuesday, but Brentford, they might be doing well in the champ, but they're Championship. I don't care. Our best team should be beating them all day long, every day, 99 out of 100. So
every one of our players, whatever team he picked out of the 25, should be better than Brentford, because these are top Premier League players, and Brentford are a Championship team. So it's not even just Sons and the Canes. Every one of our players is better than every one of their players on paper. So that's the way. Anyway, let's move on to Leeds, because we could be talking all day. So Leeds, about Leeds, I mean, they're nice to watch, but then they got literally to school just, really.
Go on, Carl. I'll let you go first on this one.
Leeds are a brilliant team to watch, like you said. I mean, they're entertaining. You can get the popcorn out, but they've problems. They let in some goals. Their goalkeeper's too young. The defence is nowhere to be seen. Patrick Bamford's lonely. Yeah, I don't see him lasting very long in the Premier League. I mean, they've been found out already. They give it the biggest I am when they come up, and all the fans are giving it the big I am. But look at them now; they ain't doing very well. I feel sorry, really.
But the fans ain't even got to watch them yet. So. Problem, isn't it? Yeah. What about you, Sam? What do you think about them?
So I did a kind of post-match reaction show the other day, yesterday, and I used the words naive. They are naive because they are going to beat teams 4 and 5 and 6, but they're going to lose 4 and 5 and 6. The problem with Bielsa, and I say it's a problem, is because you can't do that at this level against some of the big teams. We touched on it earlier, and expect to kind of, do the same thing and get the same results. You're not going to do it because teams can work you out. I looked at the record that Jose had against Bielsa in these days when he was in Spain. I think he's now won 5 games against him to 0. He scored 18 goals to Bielsa's 2 because he knows exactly what to do against the Bielsa team. And to be fair to Leeds, they've got a lot of energy, a lot of high octane players, but they don't have the level of talent that the top 6 teams have. If you can work out a strategy how to play them, you should be winning because they give you so many opportunities. They give the ball away so much. And they're going to get more and more into the season, and the players are going to have to keep this high energy level because that's the way they get results. But once that starts to wane, and I saw it yesterday, a couple of players started to walk. That was it for me. That told me everything. Once they start walking, they're done. And if they can't maintain the level now, they are going to be tight. But I still think they'll probably have enough to stay in against some of the other teams because they'll probably still be able to win against them.
Yeah, they score goals, and I mean, most of the teams that have gone down. If I was to look at stats now, I'd probably tell you that every team that went down scored hardly any goals because that's the way it is, isn't it? The hardest player to find for a club is a goal scorer. That's what I'm saying about Adama Traore and people like that. That we say all he needs to do is score goals, but that's the hardest thing to do. That's why they get paid the big bucks, and that's why they get cost the most money because they're the hardest players to find. Going on to Palace versus Sheffield United. We'll go with Sheffield United first. They're gone. Yeah,
gone. There's not much to say about.
We're refreshing last season.
Yeah, but again, although they've had some good performances, but when they were performing like that last year, when I watched with their back three, they had a couple of their centre backs was able to come up through into midfield, do all that. Oh wow, this is different. Not seeing that, and they kind of duped everybody. They fooled them. You didn't know. Now, if they start doing that, they leave a massive gap in their back three, and all you got to do is counter-attack that. So teams just realise, hold on a minute, if they're going to bring their centre back who's going to bring the ball up, we get that ball off him. Our transition means get that ball into that space, and we're going to hurt them. And they haven't been able to find another way. I know they've had some unlucky results, but you can't be 16, 17 games into a season and not have won a game yet. That tells me there's something fundamentally not right. I don't care whoever. We've not had many. I think it's a record, isn't it? No team in the Premier League has done 17 games or 16 games without a win. They've only got 2 draws. Yeah,
it's bad. It's not looking good. It's not looking good for them at all. I think they are gone. I think that I can't see any way out for them, to be honest. What about you, Carl? Or with Palace? What about Palace?
I mean, this was Sheffield's game to come out and win because Palace ain't been doing too well recently. Really ain't been doing too well. And I thought Sheffield to give it a run. They need to get a game. They need to get a win. They need to start breaking some points. And I thought they're really going to put up a fight. But fair play to Palace. They came out and showed them they've still got it in the bag. They're one of these teams that when you see the Premier League table, you expect them to see them bang 10, bang 11. They're always going to be there. They're always in the Premier League. It's a shame because they're actually wanting more, but at the minute they're not really playing to what
I agree.
What Palace have got, just to add on what you said, what Palace have got though, they've got good attacking players. So they've got the likes of Easy, Eze, whatever you want to call him. They've got Zaha, they've got Schlupp, they've got Benteke, they've got Townsend. And if you've got, as you were saying earlier, if you've got players who can create and then you've got goal scorers as well, because Zaha does score goals.
Benteke's a goal scorer.
If you've got them in your team and you can score goals, Roy Hodgson could keep clean sheets. That's what he's built. That's what he built his whole career. If you know what I mean, that sort of pragmatic style. But he's also put in players that can hurt you at the other end with the transition of the counter attack. So I think they'll be fine. I just don't know whether or not they'll ever be a top 8 side because of the fact that it's Crystal Palace. That's all it is.
Of course it is. And they will lose Zaha in the end again. And then that will be 4 or 5 positions lower than they are now because he's too good for them. I guarantee he's too good for that team. And
look at that Eze yesterday as well, though. He's a quality player.
Good player as well. Yeah, that's what I mean. Good player as well. Yeah, Jeffrey Stopp's a good player. He's always been a good player. They've got some. When they go forward like that, they look good. Like yesterday, they were flying forward. But they'll come 8th or 9th probably, wouldn't they? But I thought Zaha. I think that Poch is going to take him to Paris Saint-Germain. That's the strong rumor. Really? And I feel, imagine if he went there, Jesus, he'd just let Chabot just fill his boots with whatever he wanted to do.
Paris Saint-Germain with Mbappe,
Neymar, Zaha.
It'd
be stupid, wouldn't it? It'd be stupid. Imagine what he'd learn off them type of players. Imagine what he'd learn off Neymar, because Neymar is like a just I mean, I rate Zaha so highly, but Neymar is like the next level to Zaha, but a similar type of player. So imagine if he could just say to Zaha, look, when you're going in and out, do this, and just to ease off a bit. It probably make him that little bit better, Neymar, if he worked with Zaha. So, boy, I'd love to see that, to be honest. But the last game, Everton West Ham, I'll start on this one. So with Everton, I feel that they had the chance there to really push and show themselves, but what they're doing is getting loads of good results and then falling away and then coming back and then falling away. So the inconsistency is really there to see for them. What are your thoughts on Cole? I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Everton?
They started this season off brilliantly, didn't they? I mean, they looked dangerous at the games. I thought, cool, they're in for a little chance here. You know, Carlo Ancelotti, big manager, he's done a lot there. He must have got someone in their heads, but they've fallen off. I mean, that goal, watched the game. It was a scrappy goal at the end. West Ham got one scrappy. That's what West Ham do. You go into a team like West Ham, you're going to have a fight. And I just don't think they've got the fight in them. I mean, they've got a lot of players there that have got a lot of quality. I think they're missing a couple of players at the minute. They've got a great manager. They've got brilliant building blocks. It's going to be a process for them. But then again, they're teams that you expect to be in the Premier League, but they need to start progressing now and getting their name in that top 6. Yeah,
I agree. But they're the type of team that's going to beat the big boys now and again. So you go to Everton, you're not going there thinking we're going to win this game. It says 3 points. None of the top 6 are going to go there think that they're guaranteed to win that game, home or away. Well, we've already lost to them, and Arsenal lost them, didn't they? They drew with Liverpool, didn't they? So I don't know what their other results against the top teams were, but they're not easy. They're a hard team to beat. Ancelotti's he's clued up. I mean, he's a big superstar manager. He's not no joke. So yeah, they'll always get results, but it's just that consistency. He probably hasn't got the players for the consistency. Mate, what do you think, Sam?
So before the result at the weekend against West Ham, I think they'd won their last 4.
Yeah.
But before that, they'd lost their last 3 or 4. So again, if you look at it, they put together bands of runs, either bad or good. And in this season that it is, you can lose 3 games and go from 2nd or 1st to 8th, like what we did. You know, so it's all about keeping. If you don't win, you draw against your main rivals, but you can keep that winning mentality going. So, you know, this is a setback for them, but they're still there or thereabouts. It just depends on the next game. If they lose that, then that might see them drop off a little bit more.
I agree.
So, and their results have suggested that that's what's happened. They've won a bunch, lost a bunch. So again, they've got a good manager, as we've all talked about. They've got good players in there. They really have got some good players. I like Calvert-Lewin. We haven't even talked about him really for him as well. But he's another one, young player that I think is just gone to another level in terms of this season. So again, as we've talked about, if you've got goals in your team, you've always got a chance. You can start keeping clean sheets. You combine the two, you're always going to do well. I think it's just finding that consistent amount of games in terms of winning. I don't even think you can draw that many games in the season that it is at the moment. Even if you draw, like Liverpool have drawn the last 2 games, not lost, but they probably wouldn't better win one, lose one, because you get 3 points as opposed to 2. So that's where the difference is about teams for this season.
Yeah, I agree. And then does that worry you with Spurs in the way that Mourinho, he's never going to go and try and win a game? He's always going to try and draw. Right, he's always going to sit back when it's 0-0. Is he going to go for the win, or is he going to say we'll have the draw?
So I think Jose's now, he almost got forced into the way we played against our game the other day. He got forced into that way of playing against Leeds because, you know, he can't sit back and expect to win games just 1-0 because we don't seem to be able to do that. And that's another mental thing that I think. So now he's realizing, right, we're going to have to win. But what Jose does against the big teams, like with the Liverpools, the Chelseas, Man Cities, he'll set up not to lose. I just think that might be our undoing if we don't pick up the points against the smaller teams. You know, we've got to beat Leeds, we've got to beat Crystal Palaces, we've got to beat Everton's, we've got to beat, you know, West Brom's, we've got to beat all them Newcastles, all them sort of teams. We've got to win them games, and then hopefully, you know, pick up your home wins against some of the bigger teams. But yeah, maybe not go in against some gung-ho in a way, but certainly try to look to get at least a point, and that's where. So yeah, Jose. He's not going to change. I don't think he's going to change his approach in them bigger games, but maybe change that approach against some of the smaller teams. I don't want to be seeing them sitting back and counter-attacking against the likes of a Leicester or Crystal Palace. I don't want to see that.
I agree. So West Ham, they're doing well. I understand. What do you think about them?
Want me to go first on West Ham? You know,
Yeah,
I don't like West Ham ever since that game earlier this season when they scored whatever 3 goals in about 5 minutes. I got so much grief from West Ham fans; it was unbelievable, and they're so smug with it. So I don't really like talking about it. But if I'm going to try and be objective about them, again, they've got players in there that I think are talented enough. They've got enough about them, and they've got Moyes as a manager. He might not be the most exciting manager in the world, but he's proven at Premiership level. He's proven at being able to play a certain way and get results. Now, I've seen a couple of their games where they look like they can attack. They can certainly defend, but are they consistent enough? Maybe not. But it's hard to get that consistency in the Premier League, given the amount of teams that have got quality players in them. So they'll be all right. They'll be probably top half. I don't see them challenging for a European place, if I'm honest.
No, I agree. And the last game, which is not on there, is Leicester versus Leicester. Leicester, what do you think about Leicester? I really think Leicester have got half a chance of challenge for the title.
For the title? Wait. Stream's breaking up a bit.
Okay, what do you say? I'm gone.
I like Brendan Rodgers as a manager. I've always liked Brendan Rodgers as a manager. If we didn't get Jose, I wouldn't have been object to seeing Brendan Rodgers come in at Spurs. I think he's got a philosophy, he's got a style of play that I like. And I like the fact that this season has now changed his approach in certain games where he's always about possession and going forward and trying to, maintain more possession than the other team. He's now kind of, I don't need to do that. So when they played us, they had a different way of playing and they counter-attacked well. They've got young players in their squad, young players in their team, and they've got a good manager who knows now how to play against other teams. And for that reason, I think they'll be in and around the top 6. But there's something about Brendan Rodgers when it comes to the final parts of the season. He did that with Liverpool when he was like really close to winning the league. He kind of fell off a bit. He done that last season with Leicester, kind of fell off a little bit. I know he didn't do that when he was at Celtic, but you can't really fall off when you're at Celtic. It's only Rangers you've got to play against. So it was always.
He didn't even have Rangers then, did he?
Didn't even have Rangers then. It weren't like there was that much competition. There's something about when it comes to like the final push that he's not quite there. So I want to see that. If this season they can be in the top 4, that shows me that he's now learned from those errors previously. And I'm looking at someone like Arsenal, and I'm not saying this is a banter, but they should have got him. They should have really got him when they had the chance. If they had a chance, maybe. But I said I would have taken him at Spurs, no problem. So I think you're right. I think they'll be challenging. Let's just see if they're going to be top 4. I don't want to take a place of ours, though.
No. I wanted him to be Tottenham manager. I've wanted him to be Tottenham manager for a long, long time. I really rate Brendan Rodgers. He didn't get enough credit for what he'd done at Liverpool, without a doubt. He got them second when they hadn't been second for many a year. And he got them second, and in a year where they was never going to win the league. So he got them second, and then when they did flop the league, I mean, can't blame the manager really. They were 3-0 up against Palace, and they had virtually won the league, and they drew 3-3. That's not the manager's fault. And not with 20 minutes to go, he'd set them up. They'd gone 3-0 up, and then they'd lost the game. And then it's hard to get your players back then. But yeah, maybe he had that missing then. But now he's won things now. At Celtic, even though it's at Celtic, he still won trophies. He knows what it takes to win a trophy. I think that when they played us, they scored us at our own game. They literally bossed us at our own game. So that's made me think, you know what, Brendan's got a bit about him. He's gone and took on Jose at his own game, and he's beat him. So yeah, I think that they're a chance if they keep Vardy fit, because he's the most dangerous striker. Obviously, Harry Kane's dangerous, but Vardy's just horrible, isn't he? He's just a horrible player. Yeah. Yeah, so you don't want to be playing against him, and they got so many good players in that midfield that they're just a really good side. What about Newcastle? What do we think about Newcastle? Your views on them?
Newcastle, another team that you just expect this thing in the Premier League. They've got history. I mean, you can't put that past them. They've got a lot of history in Newcastle. They're lacking a lot of players at the minute. They've been a bit unlucky with the whole Corona at the minute. I mean, that Maximan, I think he's a brilliant player. Callum Wilson, he's a great striker. He's a great addition to their team. It's a shame where they are in the table. I think they could have done a lot better so far. Like I said, they've been dealt an unlucky hand. But it was a hard game for Leicester, for Newcastle against Leicester. Let's just put it that way. I mean, we always expect Leicester to put Newcastle away. Always put them up there, like contenders now. I mean, they've shown us that they can do it. When Newcastle unlucky, hopefully they can do a bit better in the league.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that Newcastle are just. I mean, when people say Newcastle history, I always dispute that fact. And I think, what, Newcastle won nothing. Like when they say Tottenham won nothing, Tottenham have won things. Tottenham have won several things in my short life. I'm 40 years old, and Tottenham have won many a thing in my life. So I mean, Newcastle won nothing, and all Newcastle have got is relegated, and they celebrate that they won the championship. I mean, they're a massive club fan base wise. Yeah, they've got loads of fans because it's Newcastle. You support Newcastle, you support Sunderland, or you support Middlesbrough. I mean, that's it. They don't support no one else. Not like in London where we've got loads of teams to pick from, and you can also pick Man United or Liverpool if you're from London.
I don't understand that. Yeah.
She supports Newcastle because her dad supports Newcastle, so they're going to have a big fan base. It's a big place, but I don't think that Newcastle are a big club. I really don't. The amount of times they've been relegated, they're not a big club. I don't know what your views are on that. What do you think, Sam? When they say they're a big club, but they say but Newcastle are a big club, I just find it baffling, really.
So Newcastle, I've got first-hand experience. I lived up in Newcastle for a couple of years. Worked up there a couple of years ago, 2 years. And when you go into the city centre, not even just in the city centre, but in and around Newcastle, that's all these people ever do. It's football. Everything's football. So match day in the city centre, everybody's got a Newcastle shirt on. Everybody's geared up to watching them play football. So from a perspective of a big club, from that sort of thinking, they are a big club because they've got a massive fan base up there. They've got a big stadium that's 50,000 people, and they get that filled every single week.
Oh yeah.
They've had so many issues with regard to the ownership, and I knew people up there that gave up their season tickets because they wanted Mike Ashley out and not going back until he's gone. But there's always someone else who's going to come in and take their ticket. They're that much of a base. You're right in what you're saying. They ain't won nothing, and because of that, you know, we kind of still look at them as being, you know, a well-supported team that ain't won nothing. And I just think until they get this ownership thing sorted out and to know exactly where they're going to be if someone come in as a billionaire and said, right, I'm going to spend some money on this team, they would be a phenomenal team. Because up there, up in that's it. Like you said, there's nobody, there's Sunderland, or there's Middlesbrough. Yeah. Everybody would be supporting Newcastle, apart from obviously the Sunderland and Middlesbrough fans up there. And that they will probably have a good chance to be able to build something, but I just don't know if they're going to sort out all them politics and all the rest of it. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think they're more chance of them getting relegated than being.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah. So Oh well, that's it. I just wanted to have a quick mention about just before we go because I do need to go. Just the Rangers thing. I mean, Rangers, they've just literally ripped the Scottish League apart. They haven't lost a game all season. Stevie Gerrard absolutely smashed it. I mean, there's always that contention where they say, "Oh, is this guy approved? Why is this guy the manager of a big club like Rangers?" I mean, what has Stevie Gerrard done? He's not a manager, is he? He's off his playing background, and that normally goes wrong. So I feel that we've got to give Stevie Gerrard credit because what he's done is he's gone there and he's thought to himself, "Mum, what are you doing? Go." Yeah, sorry, my little one's here. Yeah, go upstairs, please. Yeah, so he's I lost my train of thought now. So what he's gone there and he's thought, I can't lose here because I go to Rangers. Celtic are dominant. Rangers have come from the third, fourth tier, like rebuilt the whole club. I can't lose. So the only thing I can do is win. So if I overtake Celtic, I've won. If I get near them, I've done well. If I don't, then I don't really. And I think that he's just done amazing. How has he done what he's done? Do you agree? Or
I agree. Yeah, he's brilliant performance. And that team at the minute are flying high. I mean, Celtic are nowhere to be seen. To be fair,
nowhere. Literally. What do you think, Sam?
Again, look at Stevie Gerrard's career. He's obviously a well-decorated Liverpool legend. He's won Champions League. He's played for England at the highest level. Blah 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 blah. So he's gone into Rangers, and I don't know that much about Rangers, but they ain't got a load of superstars in there. So the players are probably giving him a lot of respect because he deserves the respect for what he's done in the game. I think he can manage to get 5-10% more out of players just for that fact that he's Steven Gerrard and he can say, yeah, this is what I've done. The problem's going to come, like they're touting him for saying, oh, he could be the next Liverpool manager.
Yeah.
Different type of pressure when it comes to being at Liverpool, different type of players you're going to have to be managing. And this is what I think Frank's having to deal with now at Chelsea. He's having to deal with bigger egos, bigger talented players that can look back and say, well, yeah, you're Frank Lampard, but I'm Timo Werner, or I'm, you know what I mean? So I'm just as, you know, on that sort of level where I can command more respect than what some people want to give me. At Rangers, Gerrard's able to be able to get that, but now he must be doing something right on the training ground, because they're getting the results. And no matter what happens up at Scotland, you've got Chelsea, you've got Celtic and Rangers. They're the two teams. He's now overtaken Celtic, and you said it's a win-win for him. Even if he didn't overtake him this season but got closer, he was still going to be in a position. I just don't know whether or not, even if he won this season, people are starting to talk him up to say, oh, he'd be taken over from Klopp when Klopp decides to leave. I'm not quite sure. I think he needs another job in the Premier League, just what Brendan Rodgers has done, to establish himself, to let's say, okay, now we can see how he does with bigger egos, how he can play in the Premier League, where there's more than one other team. There's 10, 11 teams that you could possibly play and lose against. So
yeah, I agree. And I think that for what would be this probably won't happen, but what would be the best thing for him is win this league with Rangers. Well, I mean, if they're going to win it by 20 odd points by the looks of it, and then next season try and retain the title, then we say it will be. The English media are ridiculous. They will say, "Oh, he's going to take over from Klopp," but like I 100% agree with everything you say. You're now going in there, and they don't care who you are. The fans do. The fans love you. Like Ole Gunnar's in that position. He won the Champions League with Man United. He scored in the final. I mean, what more can you do in a treble-winning team? But the players weren't playing for him, were they, at that stage? So what for me, for Steve Gerrard, would be a good idea would be to go and one of the big clubs in the Championship, the Sheffield Wednesdays and Nottingham Forest, and do the same thing he's done with Rangers to them, get them into the Premier League, and then they can start saying, well, now I'm a manager, because the Championship is harder than any league probably, but it's probably not harder than the Premier League to manage, but it's harder than the Scottish League, because like you said, there's only one team in it. As soon as you beat them, that's it. But yeah, I would love him to do that. It would be refreshing if he took over a Forest and said, okay, how long have you been up for? 20 years? Okay, I'll take you up. That would be a nice thing to do. And I hope that he does something like that, because I hope otherwise he's going to do exactly what Rooney and Lampard are going to do, because Lampard's going to be out of a job soon. And that, I think we all can see that. So, yeah, that would be nice to see. But who knows what's going to happen. But, yeah. Anyway, lads, it's been refreshing and it's been cool. So, next time, boys. Hopefully, next time we speak, Tottenham will be in the cup final, and Arsenal will be about 14 still. All right, lads. Nice speak to you.
Nice
All right, take it easy, man. Take it easy.
All right. See you later.